Hello and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. This is a podcast where you speak to mavericks across the comedy world. Now, today's guest is the creator, the head honcho of one of my favorite sitcoms in Britain. Her name is Susan Nickson. She produced a fantastic and created a fantastic, amazing Two Pints of Lager packet of crisps. And we're going to hear her fantastic story of how she created a sitcom at the age of 19 that went over for a decade, talking about her amazing life and how, I think if I get it right, Janet and Johnny's flat was an inspiration on a place that she lived with her then boyfriend. Please welcome Susan Nickson.
Thank you very much. There is no way that I'm going to be able to live up to that introduction. Who, by the way, I really wanted to ask, who are you named after?
Oh, so that's a funny thing. So my name's Marvin McCarthy, and
so Irish.
My Auntie Panny had a boss named Marvin, and then that was the first name. But my McCarthy name, so my dad's English and Irish. He's from Liverpool, Kirby. The family moved from Ireland into Liverpool. The grandfather, and then my grandfather grew up in Liverpool. He used to get my dad and his brothers to fight a lot to learn how to defend themselves. And then
violence.
My dad came over to London. He sounds very posh now, but the only time he sounds northern is when he says the word bastard or prick or effing out.
Well, I'm not posh, but I have a real northern twang on a park. So you didn't hear it then because I was aware of it, but usually I'd say to the dog, do you want to go to the park?
There it is.
Let's go to the market. Yes.
Has your act? Why does that happen? Like, even though like you've moved to a different place?
Because I've lived obviously lived in Runcorn. I saw a recording of myself once when I was on like Granada Tonight, which was the local news station. I was very, very young at the time. It was very scouse. And then lived in London for a long time, lived in America for a number of years. And now, sort of general Manchester and London. So it's not that all over the place. I think it's just a bog standard northern-ish accent, but it does depend on who I'm with. So every time I'm with a Scouser, it will come forward. It comes right out within seconds. Just like, all right, Clara, gotta see you.
Oh, but it is funny, the voice. I know that there was a girl from London that used to sound Aussie, but that's because of the people she was with. I don't know. It is the thing, isn't it? You adapt to your surroundings. My dad sounds like he's Hugh Grant.
And he's from Kirby.
Yeah.
Putting that on. He's proper putting that on to pick up the birds. Just did that for your mum's sake.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if my mum has a thing for posh. She came from Thailand by accident. They met in a hotel, not in the misconception way, not in the stereotype way where people assume that they both worked in a hotel, and my dad did a mysterious man attraction thing because he was very quiet, and my mum was, who's this serious, mysterious man? And then things happened.
Wow. And then she accidentally came over from Thailand.
Yeah, she didn't actually plan to stay here. She just
and then she just fell in love.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I completely understand that. It's exactly the same reason I'm in Manchester.
Oh, okay. So it was
no, it's not. I didn't have I didn't meet a Thai woman.
But
met a man in Manchester and then fell in love, and it's good.
Without prying, what was the story, if you don't mind me saying?
Of which of
your love story?
Oh, my love story. He owned a cafe where I would go and write sometimes. and I would sit in the corner on the computer and have like 12 cups of tea a day because I really fancied him.
Oh,
I just sit there, spent about 5 grand on tea, and eventually sort of, so it's not massively interesting, but that's the story.
okay.
And just ended up married.
Okay.
Very
You
nice.
never know what's going to happen in life, do you?
No, you don't know who you're gonna meet or who you're gonna connect with, and it's just it's just nice.
When you had 2 pints of lager, would you, at the tender age of 19, expect it to come out the way it did, or to actually be in a situation now where it went for over a decade, and yeah, to be what it is now?
It's strange looking back, isn't it? And it makes me feel quite old, but I didn't have any expectations, at that age. I think I was a little bit younger when we started developing it. I was about 17, which is ridiculous to me now. But I didn't have any expectations simply because I had no experience of what it could turn into. So I just thought, oh, right, well, I'll write a script and they'll probably make a show of it. And then it'll probably keep coming back and it'll run for 10 years. And then, we'll be talking about bringing it back now. And, when you're in your 40s, I didn't plan that. I didn't think that that was going to be something that was going to happen. Because I think I might be misremembering, but it would get cancelled at the end of every series.
Oh,
And they'll just say, well, I think it's done now. And I go, oh, okay, we'll work on something else. And then the show would go out and it was very popular. So they'd come back and say, actually, it did very well for us. Do you want to, do you want to do it again? Um, and, uh, and we did. And obviously it just kept coming back and kept being enjoyed. Um, but yeah, you're right. It's a long time ago. Now, it must be, oh, hang on. I don't remember then. Was it like 2001?
I think it was in 2002. Yeah, 2002 or 2004.
20 years ago. Oh my
Ooh.
God, we were babies. Were you born?
So being Asian, I age quite well, but
You were,
I'm
oh, right, you
34.
got it.
So
Oh, wow. Well done. Do you use, you're very young. Do you use any particular Korean skin products or, because that's the big thing at the moment that I've seen is that all the women using things from Korea,
um,
they have very beautiful skin. So sort of all the English women of my age are going like, and they don't think, it's the genetics of Asian skin. They're just going, I'm just going to use Korean skin products and I will look as good as these women. It doesn't work.
I just use a lot of uh, baby cream, which from a young age till now. sorry, sorry, John, that's all I
PGD.
do. Sorry.
I use baby cream with like a little sly wink as well.
Oh God, no! I'm gonna get cancelled now.
It was.
But that's a solution, Susan.
There we go. I'm gonna go to Boots and get some baby cream. It's my afternoon sorted.
And they're gonna give me 10% commission, okay?
Oh, they will. They have to now.
So, but it's yeah, I've heard all sorts of things like running a sitcom, like when I did a sitcom course about it. I mean, back then it must have been a struggle, but now it's also a massive struggle. Like you must have had to taking your script up to a lot of different companies before it got picked up.
Uh, not not necessarily with 2 pints. 2 pints was not as problematic because they were making studio sitcoms then. I think there's only about two or three now in England, in Britain. Um, but I think it's such a long time ago. Um, so it went out on BBC Two, and then they were launching BBC Choice to become BBC Three, maybe, or to be BBC Choice. And they wanted a kind of like a flagship kind of show that had an identity of being very young and cheeky and sort of ribald humour. And so they kind of they went with us and said, "Oh, we'd like to do that on our channel." And I think that was where we got really lucky. Uh, was for a while sort of being the face of that channel, being like their comedy brand. Because there were a lot of other shows at the time that weren't sprung off from Two Pints, but having that vehicle um, allowed BBC Three to be more experimental with other like types of comedy or less less broad than Two Pints would be. So I think they had a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, that's sort of the story as far as I remember it. I'd I'd already started writing by the time I wrote Two Pints, and uh, I'd entered a competition when I was about 14, and I won that, and then made a little sort of half-hour TV show, like a standalone piece with Kathy Burke, and then I did a couple of sitcom episodes that were on stage. And I really wish they'd bring it back. And it was at the Riverside Studios in Hammersmith, where they would just do half hours, the proper cast together, half hours of sitcom, get a proper director in, and put them on stage. And then the BBC came along to see mine and then said, "Would you like to write something for the BBC?" Which obviously you don't go, "Nah, I'm all right, thanks." Nah. Which obviously I did. And then, magically, very luckily, it happened and it was successful. Uh, but yeah, huge amounts of luck involved.
What was the process? So once you had the script and it was like approved, what was like the process, like getting the cast together,
Mm.
getting like the list of like 10 episodes a season, like how did that
Yeah,
all happen?
I mean, the development of it took about 2 years from writing the script to filming the first series, probably a bit more actually. Um, and that went through a process of reading with different casts and chemistry castings and things like that. And then we eventually arrived on the cast that we got, and I just think that they're all brilliant because they slowly over the years they just became the characters became them or they became the characters, and um, obviously incredibly talented bunch of performers that we got. Very fortunate with.
What did what was the yeah? How did you get the chemistry right? That was the thing, because I mean, it's so important, isn't it, in a show to have the right
Yeah,
chemistry between characters.
they kind of knew each other. They were all northern um, young actors, so they kind of knew each other from around. Will and Natalie had been in Hollyoaks together.
Oh,
Ralph and Sheridan, and they had lots of scenes together as well, so they knew each other very well. And then Ralph and Sheridan had played a couple in the royal family. Um, and I think Catherine hadn't done as much television, but she'd done a lot of theatre. She was just very, very funny actor. Um, so the chemistry worked because they were kind of a group of mates already.
okay.
So, and it was all just very young and very fun. And
What what was the other are the characters based on people that you met in Runcorn? And is the what are the elements of the sitcom itself that I know that of course with Janet and Johnny's house, that was a place you used to live in, but
that was weird. That it was literally our house. So what they did was they did a recce up to Runcorn, where I was still living, and they said, "Can we come and look at your house?" And then they took loads of measurements, loads of pictures. I didn't know why they were doing this. I just thought this is creepy of them, but fine, go ahead. Um, and then they built the sets, and the first time I saw the sets wasn't on the night of the recording, and I walked in, and it's just my living room. It was like the strangest experience because the exact dimensions were copied, and all the colours of the couch and where the table is, and the winding staircase, and all of that was exactly the same.
Oh.
Creepy experience. Um, and then I can't remember what the pub was. The local pub that I would go to. In fact, I worked at in Runcorn. Um, so the inside of that was based on a pub called the Dockside Inn in Western Point in Runcorn. I'm not sure if it still exists. I hope it does. It was a lovely little pub. Um, and the bigger pub, uh, the Archer, is now a Buddhist temple, of
I
course,
saw
which is
that.
so strange, but great. I mean, it's very popular. I've been. We've all been there, and you get to feed the monks if you so wish, and have a little meditate with them, and just a lovely group of people.
Mm.
We love the Runcorn Buddhist Centre.
Ah. And with the characters themselves, are they people that you met, like you knew growing up, like Johnny, Gaz, Janet?
I wouldn't say like directly. I copied our character. Like I met someone in the pub and went, "Aha, you're an interesting, engaging human being. I will steal all your attributes." Um, so Janet and Johnny they did sort of have the kind of relationship that I had with my partner at the time, but he wasn't that stupid, and she wasn't that much of a sort of faggy drinking l- ladette. Um, or I wasn't that much of, maybe I was. I did call a show Two Pints of Lager, that's, let's be fair. Um, but Runcorn doesn't have a breed of people, but it does have its own identity. Um, so the characters are based on the people of Runcorn, so uh, it's pretty working class town. It's a working class northern town. Um, and yeah, it is very much. We got a little bit of pushback saying you're making our town look bad, but not very much because most people have got a nice sense of humour from there, and they're just lovely people.
Ah. What was the pushback that you had from people? Were they like, "You're painting us as this and that. What are you doing? What's going on?"
Mostly they said it was using bad language. And it doesn't use half as much bad language as, maybe I'm getting old, but as much as you see on the TV these days. In my day, um, wi- this is a bit smutty, and which it was. Um, and I think they mention us in the House of Lords once and say this show is not the reason we pay our license fee.
Whoa.
I was like, yay! Um, but there was minimal pushback from uh, people in the actual town, or indeed any of those working class northern towns. There was a bit more pushback, I guess, from maybe the middle classes. Aristocracy loved it.
It's always like when you run a comedy show or comedy gig goes well, and like most people are laughing, but you always have that one person that's not laughing. It's always like, but the people that don't like it
Fair enough,
sometimes the
it comes
loudest,
across,
aren't they?
but that's fine. I mean, we don't have to like everything. Um, so it wouldn't. I wouldn't be upset if someone didn't like Two Pints. Plenty of people don't. It's can't say it's something that crosses my mind because lots of people did, and it made a lot of people very happy. Um, I remember I was very excited once when someone said it was their absolute comfort show during their A levels.
Oh,
So what they do, I think it was screened at about 10 o'clock at night and then at 2 o'clock in the morning. So they would be their revision breaks, and it was the same episode. So they'd take a break at 10, watch Two Pints of Lager, have a cup of tea, whatever, and Jaffa Cake, and then go back to revising. And then at 2 in the morning, have another break and wind down with the exact same episode. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what we were trying to do, is make a really safe place for people just to come in, put the TV on, not be, I guess, not too pretentious about it. And it's just very easy to watch, and just should provide a switch off point for your brain that allows you to wind down. Because what I'm missing at the moment, I think, from television is a show that does that. Um, and just I end up watching a lot of Frasier now when I get a bit anxious or stressed, and just go back to the old classics. Um, just because I feel like my television is kind of shouting at me sometimes, or challenging me in some way. I'm like, oh mate, I can't be doing with this. I'm just gonna have to watch Fraser Crane falling over again. Um,
it's saying put 2 pints of lager back.
yeah. I mean, it's still on, but um, yeah, something nice and comfy would be good to see.
The- I'll be honest, and this may cause a bit of distaste, but I've not watched any, and I said this to you on the phone, that the only sitcom I've seen for the last few years are like Big Bang Theory or In-Betweeners. And yeah, I don't like Mrs. Brown Boys. I just, it just doesn't sit with me. It's too,
I mean, it's polarizing, definitely, but it serves a purpose for an audience that wants that type of comedy. It's massively successful, and I I haven't seen a lot of it, I've got to say, but uh, I don't see the harm in it. I don't see it being a show that sets out to hurt anyone, or to make the audience uncomfortable, or anything like that. I think it literally seeks just to entertain and to try and make people laugh and have a nice time. Um, but I just haven't seen enough of it to be able to say if it's my cup of tea or not.
well, that's the problem at the moment with a lot of social media. I mean, Mrs. Brown Boys isn't my thing, and I'll keep away from it, but I'm not going to go out to try and ruin them or anything like that. The
No.
problem now is people, if they don't like something, they waste their time doing stupid things. But the thing that annoys me, there needs to be more choice as well, because it's the only one I know of. I know when I was growing up, there was so many sitcoms. There was One Foot in the Grave, there
Oh
was
god, yeah.
Open All Hours,
Yeah, yeah.
there was episodes of the Two Ronnies, Two Pints, Only
Yeah.
Fools and Horses, My Family.
Um,
Uh, what else was there? There was quite a lot. With Friends as well in America.
Going
But
around all the time. Even, yeah.
but
Yeah.
now,
What? No. But then, those shows obviously still exist, so you can revisit the past, and enjoy it again. Nowadays, there's many more um, channels or methods, for people starting out in the business to get their work out there and to be more in control of their work. So things like TikTok or Facebook, or um,
yeah.
what are the other, what are your other young people things? But, just I think it's so impressive um, when you see a young performer start out just making tiny little TikTok videos about something they really want to say and are passionate about, and then they can grow that, and have complete creative control over it. And I mean, they might eventually get cancelled, but then they can come back again. But no, I'm not a big fan of cancellation culture. I think all it does is cause anxiety for not only the person being cancelled, obviously that's unpleasant enough, but also for the people doing the cancelling. They they can't feel good about about having a fight on the internet. That must be a terrible feeling.
Yeah, it's better to do it in public. No, I'm just
It's a fight. Listen to your granddad there.
but it's the only thing, yeah, it's great that there's more platforms, but it's a bit of a
Mhm.
shame that when I was growing up, there was maybe 6, 7, 8 sitcoms that I would used to watch at a time. And
It
I
is.
obviously I can still watch it, but now I only know of one that's well known, like Big Bang Theory, and that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This not going out. Is that still going? I think it
it's
is.
finished now. But I mean, yeah, I
Oh,
can watch repeats, but it's just you don't hear enough about great sitcoms. I know when I was growing up in school, people would
well,
sometimes mention funny things they saw in different sitcoms.
yeah, and that's how it
Now
is.
it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, they are expensive. Um, well, they're kind of expensive, as in they do work or they don't work. And if you spent that money on something that does not work at all, then as a commissioner, you will be asked a lot of questions in the next year about why did you pick the thing that did very, very badly. Whereas if a commissioner picked something that would do kind of okay, middle of the road kind of okay, but not superbly well, not terribly badly, um, then that's fine. That's kind of, oh right, we've sort of met the targets. Um, so I think there is a bit of fear, a bit of job security fear maybe around the commissioning process. Uh, Mrs. Brown's Boys was obviously a really good decision because I mean, and I thought a very clear decision because it was filling theatres up and down the country. That entire demographic wasn't catered to, which was dirty little old ladies, really. So they didn't have a show that they could watch, um, and they were the people who were sat in front of the television. So it's an unmined demographic, an unmined audience who are just sat there waiting, and that's one of the reasons why I think it became so popular. Along with it being very easy to watch, very broad. Um, but sort of after Mrs. Brown's Boys, an awful lot of stuff was commissioned that didn't didn't try and nail um, just jokes and being really like gag heavy. Um, Which is what I like and what I like to write as well. And some people don't like that. Some people like to go, most amusing, but that's not my kind of thing.
I did a sitcom writing course, and the guy
What did you mentioned? Where is that a sitcom
it
writing?
was in a city lit, and I can't.
Oh, cool.
And it was a foundation one, but for sure I'm gonna do the intermediate because I actually enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
I sound it sounds childish and stupid, but
Doesn't at all.
what I found funny about it is that you can invent all these mad characters and you could prank them in a way and put
Oh
them
yeah,
in
live
like
in your head.
yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely just speak to you in your head, and you're right. You prank them. I would a lot of the time write 2 pints and go and just think to myself, what can I throw at this character this week? And it's about putting them in, and there were juvenile situations, but they were challenging to those characters.
Uh,
So if someone who, like Johnny, say, was unemployed and he won £10,000 on a scratch card, or was it £2,000 on a scratch card? It was a substantial amount of money on a scratch card. What would that character actually do with that money? Because that's kind of life changing. That at that point, I think that could have put a nice m- sort of down payment on a house. But then he frittered it because
weakness.
that's his character. He just wanted to get a bouncy castle, and because he's 20 or however old he was. So that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of way of writing that. That's how I would write things, is just throw what would they do? And they always tell you, they're all, if they're in your head, they always say, well, you know, clearly I would hire a bouncy castle. And also, the all the other characters in response to one of their friends suddenly winning, by the grace of God, a substantial amount of cash, how would they each react? So how would they try and get it off them? Would they try and get them to invest in something? Would they go, oh, let's go on a massive holiday to Ibiza? Or so you, from throwing something at one character, you get the reaction to every other character in the piece.
And what was the processing like when you used to come up with an idea? Like, oh, that what would be the processing like?
For 2 pints, most episodes have 3 stories, so sort of a big A story, and the A story might be the story of the whole series. So there'd be an entire story arc that we're following with the A story, or that might be the B story, which is slightly less at the front of the show, but it's still equally as important. And the C story would be something where if we were doing an emotionally heavy A story, the C story would be something very, very silly, just for the balance. So that was the process of actually writing the scripts and coming up with ideas for what we wanted to do was a case of going, right, episode 1 starts here at the end, usually at the end of the last series, which may have ended on a cliffhanger. It usually did. So which was I was like, oh, I hope they commission us again. Maybe they will if if I leave it on a cliffhanger. I don't think they cared. Um, so we'd pick up where we left off last series, most of the time, and then say there was 8 episodes. You'd say, where do we want to be at the end of episode 8?
Okay.
And then if I had other writers around, um, I would want the series to look like a wave.
Okay.
So you would have big emotional resonance there and sort of around 3 and then slightly bigger at the end to end it on. And if we had other people writing episodes, if they was tried to lean into their strengths. So if they were sort of they loved classic Roy Clarkian or One Foot in the Grave kind of things, which is slightly more surreal, I guess. But if they liked comedy sitcoms, then they would get an episode that had the storylines within it that was suitable for their mode of writing. And if they if a writer was super new around and was still working on the craft, they might get a slightly less emotionally resonant episode and maybe a more visually fun thing to do. But that's roughly the process.
So in the writers, you put certain things to based on how that person works.
Yeah. Oh, we would allocate certain scripts to writers to try and play to their strengths. So say so I'd be stood on the whiteboard as it was back then with the marker pen. And if you had a writer who suddenly they were making suggestions for an episode, and if you saw that they got excited about that particular storyline, then more often than not they would have that episode to write because it looked like they were kind of passionate about it and wanted to do it, or they had lots of ideas and for jokes and story and plot. But they were thoroughly plotted before the scripts were allocated to any writers.
Mm.
And like I say, there was like an A plot, a B plot, and a C plot within the 24-ish minutes.
And when I know nothing about sitcoms. I only did a foundation course, but when I was doing that, he gave us at the end of the course like an exercise of doing like a 10-page pilot or something.
Oh,
And
brilliant.
it was, yeah, it's a lot. For anyone that isn't in the world of sitcom writing, that
Mm.
wouldn't look too hard from the outside. But when I was actually doing it and trying to refine
And
it
it,
as well,
the
that's like
template would
that.
be quite difficult. As in, so that's about roughly 10 minutes of material. That's quite difficult to get a beginning, middle, and end, and a whole arc, and to introduce all the characters that presumably you've been working on.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect. I was very wonky at the start in terms of introducing the characters, and a lot of it could have used a bit of
Oh
work. I
boy.
rushed it in, but it was
Yeah,
funny.
obviously.
So
It's homework.
I found it funny. Fine, fine.
Yeah.
But I just there is a sitcom that I want to write, but I don't want to go into
Oh,
it.
brilliant. No.
The one that I did, I thought I'll get the exercise of doing it, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
sounded really disturbed. But I thought originally I wrote, oh, this is gonna come across the wrong way, but I thought it'd be funny to have a. So I wrote a story about a geezer Cockney guy and like a camp drag act, and they're both the gay couple, and then they're living with a sister, and he's hid it from his mates, and I put at the end of the episode that it'll be a big reveal. The and he pretends he's his son to hide it from his mates. And
Right.
there's a big reveal at the end where his husband does a big drag
It,
act, and then he says
right. And then he stood
it's
there
up
and
with him. I just thought what was funny about it is the contrast of like this guy being, oh,
yeah,
like this,
absolutely.
and then yeah, it was just fun pranking them in them awkward situations.
Yeah. No, it sounds great. Did you do anything with it after? Did you expand it into the full half hour or?
Not yet, but there is a sitcom that I wanna. I don't like if I want to talk about my Asian heritage and the fact that my dad's
Mm.
English and Irish and my mum's Chinese, and there is a lot of comedy in Asian culture. I know there's an American sitcom, but my Asian relatives are very funny people, and there's a lot
Yeah, yeah.
of mad things that have happened. And yeah, I feel that that's the story I want to tell.
Yeah, I like a lot of those comedies. I think they get remade from America a lot of the time, don't they? And they just recast without the Asian cast. Um, but there's a lot on TikTok.
Oh, I've not. I know that there's
It's
an
weird.
Asian guy that says emotional damage, but that's about it.
That's it. That's his act. Oh, it sounds good.
Um, but yeah,
Uh,
a lot of people don't when they think of comedy. A lot of people think of like stand up or like they don't often think about sitcoms as much. But with the process of a sitcom, I mean, you told me a lot that goes on there, but to put in
mm,
even an episode out, that must have taken maybe weeks or something, or to because you got to write the script and
mm,
then you got to revise for it. You got and people there's people have ideas and there's disagreements and you got to
yeah,
mediate all that, and then the actors and actresses probably have ways of like how they want their character to be
they're all.
portrayed.
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, if a performer was unhappy with what we were asking them to do, just change it. These are young people. You don't want to mess with anything like that. Um, but with regards, it didn't take. It's a funny process. They had the writers' room where all the writers for that series would come together, and plot what the series shape was going to be, and that was like maybe a week, say maybe less. Um, and then I'd type out all the storylines, so scene one, scene two, scene three, scene four, and then decide which writers would we'd ask to do which episodes. Um, and then everyone would set off writing them. I think sort of more diligent writers would take about 2 weeks to write a half-hour episode, but that's sort of doing 4 or 5 pages a day, going back the next day, rewriting those, and then rewriting writing another 4 or 5 pages, and it's a great way to do it. But I on 2 pints, it was a bit like homework because we were all kind of in our 20s and we wanted to be doing other things. We wanted to be like going out with boys and going to the pub and stuff. So, I had that sometimes that there was is a bit more last minute, like all nighters.
Ah, okay.
So there was some of that, um, which I wouldn't do. I wouldn't do now. I think I could only do it because I knew that the actors were so professional and so adaptable. Um, but I don't think they'd put up with it now.
Fair enough.
You just go, yeah, Sheridan Smith.
I watched a big clip called like the top 60 sitcom moments. And I remember the biggest one was when Del Boy fell through the bar, and you talk about the chandelier. And the writer, John Sullivan, spoke about the big scene where Grandad goes, "He's coming, Del Boy, one more turn." And then he knocks the chandelier. And he said he got that story from a friend of
But
his.
it's a true story, isn't it? Yeah.
Mad.
Well, yeah.
But
But that's probably why that's so funny, is because that's truthful. You can see that that's not incredibly fantastical. That's still true to those characters. They're still reacting to the situation that they've been put in. Um, and that's also why shows like Only Fools and Horses can get away with um, high levels of emotional intensity, um, and grief and sadness. And then that's almost right from the beginning, because Grandad dies. So they really had that sort of working class, slightly aspirational, just truth and heart. And yeah, Fools and Horses is an incredible show. As is One Foot in the Grave, which is slightly more surreal, but also has the absolute truth. One of my favourite characters is Margaret Meldrew, um, who Annette Crosby. She looks exactly like my mum, right? And she acts exactly like my mum as well. And the very final episode of One Foot in the Grave, where Margaret has murdered someone, I can very much see my mother doing that. If someone hurt me. But she's a brilliant character, because you can just see she absolutely loves Victor and she'll do anything for him, even though um he's a bit annoying. And the other thing about Victor Meldrew and about that show that I always think people don't quite realise is how nice Victor is. He's absolutely lovely to everyone, but circumstances conspire around him to mess it up. And and then of course he loses his temper because people are irritating, and he's retired and he's not got a lot to do. Um, but yeah, I mean they do start in sadness sometimes. Uh, he loses his job in the first episode of One Foot in the Grave, and then the first episode of Last of the Summer Wine is, I think, a funeral. Um, so they those big everlasting shows, they do have the emotional truth to them. They have an absolute heart. It's why you can watch them again and again and again, and still laugh and still be moved, 'cause it's still very truthful.
and it's all about things that happen to a lot of people and people can relate to, and they can imagine themselves not in. They're glad they can remind themselves of silly things that have happened to them.
Yeah, there's such a huge spectrum of emotions as well that we can have our characters feeling in their very specifically characterful way. The way Del Boy reacts to a situation is very much not how Margaret Meldrew would react to a situation. But you can put them in the same situation, you just get a different show.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what I think about character.
That's what I've heard about right, in stand-up comedy, a lot of the times it's the punchline, but and I think we
Mm.
mentioned it already. A lot of the times that works in sitcoms is the contrast of the characters and how they react to things. That's where the comedy is not necessarily the joke or the punchline. It's them
Yeah.
that makes it funny.
Well, it's a situation comedy, so yeah, it is the situation that they're put in. Um, that's yeah, exactly.
What now we spoke about different sitcoms, but when you were creating Two Pints, was there moments where I mentioned John Sullivan, hearing that mad story. Was there things with yourself writing Two Pints where you were like, you got this mad story out of nowhere and it created an amazing bit in Two Pints?
Not not that I can particularly remember. Um, I mean, it probably all did happen at some point in my life, or to my friends, um, or just people that I knew. But there's no, there wasn't an actual point where I don't think so. Sorry, that's quite really disappointing answer, isn't it?
That's all right. It's
Um,
truth.
is it's the truth? Um, no, we just mostly made it up.
Ah, okay. What what was the what was a bit that you remember, like a particular scene or bit that you didn't intend to go the way it was, that is amazing, that you're really proud of? Like, for example, I remember, what's a funny thing that happened to me? Um, I remember a comedy show. So Siobhan she's a really good host, and we run a heckle show. And one thing that happened was they played this game called Clench and Drop. It's a very stupid thing, but it was a coin that she used to play with her family, where they would get the coin and grab it in their butt cheeks. Obviously, fully clothed,
Right.
nothing dodgy, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I wasn't doing too well in that night, but I just did the whole set of clench and drop, and it went quite well. But it came up by accident. But from your side, when you're writing Two Pints, there must have been a few moments where you expected it to go a certain way, but then you just got some inspiration or something out of nowhere, and it came into a brilliant, memorable bit. That
Well, I guess, and I have said this before because it's an easy get out for me because I don't have to be braggy or anything. But the musical just came from the performers being just singing quite a lot during rehearsals, and when you realise someone's got talent and it's quite a remarkable talent, then you're going to want to use it. Um, and so so we did on the musical. The reason I don't take much credit for the musical is because I just bought a rhyming dictionary and kind of made. I think yeah, it was when Janet met Johnny, so it was just the night that they met. So very simple structure. Um, and yeah, so they met, they fell in love, and his mate's a bit annoyed, and her mates are a bit annoyed, and then it all turns out nice, and they all dance and have a drink. Um, And that's sort of the show encapsulated in one episode, really. It all turns out okay.
the thing that I found quite interesting about Two Pints when I was watching it for I watched I think the first 3, 4, 5 seasons, and then I got into other things. But it was I remember there was a lot of great new characters you got in. Like you got Donna's mum, you got
Oh, yeah, on that.
the barmaid that was quite interesting at the
Yeah,
beginning with
Ellie.
the black hair. Then you
Yeah,
had Munch. Munch was a great character.
Ellie Oaks, he was good. Yeah, he was really good. Yeah, as you move on through things, you do occasionally want, say in 7th series, you might want to introduce a new thing, or especially if you lose someone, like when Ralph left, you're gonna have to fill that space with things. Um, so yeah, it was interesting to open it up a little bit.
There was a great bit that I remember being written when Munch first came in, and where it perfectly encapsulates Gaz's character. Like normally when you say find out, oh, my dad cheated on my mum, you get annoyed or upset, and he said the same thing, but then he revealed, but he's an idiot. And that perfectly fits him. Normally we would say, oh, I can't believe my dad did that, but then when he says, oh, he's an idiot, then that's just Gaz.
It's just Gaz. Yeah, they were sweet together. I liked them because Gaz is he's not his little brain sort of works, and the way Will plays it, you can see him. You can see the cogs moving, and he's trying to form a thought. But Munch is even stupider than Gaz. um, yeah, Munch is sort of borderline offensively stupid. Um, but very good at his job, very good at cars, very nice character, and having a passionate affair with the barmaid as well, or if I remember correctly.
And as a fan of the show, can I ask an insider question? How are the actors and actresses? You mentioned that they became more like the characters, but in what are they? Are they in what way are they like? If I'm allowed to ask that, and what way are they not?
I've just been saying that Gaz, you can see his cogs turning. So Will is actually an incredibly clever man, and very smart performer, which is why he's so successful. In what way are they like they are very much, I think, uh, with Ralph and Johnny. Ralph's quite earnest, um, and slightly poetic. So he's got that in common. Uh, Sheridan's just a love. She's like a very maternal, kindly figure. Um, Natalie with Donna, she is quite feminist. She's incredibly bright and sweet, and nice. But I would not want to annoy Natalie. I think she has fire. Yeah, she's great. And Catherine, um, Catherine's probably the least like her character because Catherine has got a lot of social awareness or self-awareness. Um, uh, but he's just a great performer, so obviously can play the absolutely obnoxious Louise.
I heard
Oh
that. I heard that Catherine was when she was playing Louise, it reminded her of a friend of hers or something.
God, I think so. Yeah.
That's what she said, I think.
Um, yeah. I don't know if they'd be a friend anymore. Um,
Yes.
if she actually said that I don't know where she said that, but I have heard her say that as well. That she'd based the character, the higher pitched voice and the little birdie mannerisms and stuff, on a very girly friend who was maybe slightly pretentious or slightly looked down on the rest of the starving actors. Um, but I don't think I met the friend. I might have done. I'm not going to say.
Keep it quiet.
Be a bit quiet.
Was the voice that she put on like a planned thing, or was it actually just Catherine adding
Oh, well,
the
the character,
interpretation?
it was Catherine. So Louise was written as a sort of a kind of stereotypical dumb blonde, and it was in the scripts as well as a description of her that she would be into pink and Disney, and she would have blonde hair. Um, and obviously Catherine isn't that, and Louise's character is actually very nicely turned out and very nicely dressed, in my opinion. um, so she's not. Yeah, at least half the credit there goes to Catherine on the creation of that little lunatic. Yeah, I'm blaming her.
How for a sitcom, if it wasn't what do you think would have came out if it wasn't for the creativity and brilliance of the actors? How did they bring life to the script, do you feel? Because
They brought, I mean, yeah, it's a symbiotic relationship. It's vaguely unhealthily codependent between a writer and performers, in that you need each other if for the eventual product for the show to go on. So there's an element of you have to give the script away and trust that these people are very, very funny and very talented at what they do, and just let it go and forget about it because it's show night. And um but yeah, I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I was a teenager. I'd never written a series before. Uh so it was they were more experienced in their professions than I was in mine. I'd had a couple of plays and a couple of little bits on television, um, and they'd been in shows. They'd done the grind and the hard work, and um, so they were massively, obviously, like the biggest part of the show.
is is it always like Neo and Morpheus? Morpheus says to Neo, "I can only show you the door. You're the
I'm
one that
not
has
a
to walk
geek.
through it." Sorry.
I know it's the Matrix. Sorry, completely left my head. So, like, is this Marvel Cinematic Universe? No, it's the Matrix. Um, it, it's not it's not quite like that. It's Two Pints
Sorry,
of
let's change.
Lager.
Ignore that. Ignore that.
That's how I'm going to describe it in the future. It's just like Neo and Morpheus. That was my process, and that is how I allow my babies to flourish.
Sorry, I don't know what I'm saying.
Where did it come from? It's good though. I liked it.
Uh,
Um, yeah.
it's I've I've watched a lot of podcasts with like big name actors or big name
Mm.
comedians, and it's something that sometimes resonates with a few people who've started in the business young and then done very well for themselves. And they say that if they didn't start young, they wouldn't have taken a risk that
Oh
they've taken to
yeah.
get where they are now. Um,
Very good point.
the fact that you started so young, how would you say that was a big part of maybe getting Two Pints to where it was? And
Um,
what did you learn that you probably wouldn't do now if you were going to do it?
yeah, it's a great question. I might have been. It'd be a completely different show because it's 20 years ago. We're a different country. I'm a different person. Um, you'd hope that I would have grown slightly in 20 years. Um, yeah, I think it's not the naivety and the privilege attached to having a show on television so young, and it just being my completely normal life that was just this is what happens. And for that, because I didn't know that that was not what happens. I didn't think that was a rarity. It was just me living my life, and this is my job now. I'm a sitcom writer, and I do this. Um, and not being aware of what an incredible privilege that was at the time probably allowed uh, more fluidity to it in terms of like where we take the characters or what we do and what we would be happy with putting on the television. I think maybe you get more conservative as you get older. Um, and yeah, you'd hope there was a sort of knockaboutedness to it that I don't think I'd be able to recreate now. Because I would be thinking of the shots and I'd be thinking of the possibilities and like why you can't set fire to something or
Okay.
and there's those little things that with youth, naivety is probably the wrong word, but enthusiasm maybe, with the knowledge that comes with experience, you might not do the exact. You definitely wouldn't do the exact same thing, but you might not take those types of risks like health and safety or mental health risks and that type of thing. Um, you're always quite happy to do when you're young because you are young. Um, s- that's a great thing. Um, yeah, I think that's correct.
And what did you how yeah, what
Is is the question what would I do different now?
or no,
'Cause
what um yeah, what would you do now if you were to if you presented the same situation? And what would you say are the things that so you've been sitcom writer for over 20 years.
yeah, most of my life now.
What would you say what advice would you give to someone that's listening in now?
Oh, advice now would I would use all of the platforms and channels that are available now. Um, there are fewer slots on television for comedy. They've had their budgets absolutely decimated and slashed, so there are naturally fewer slots. Um, so it's a harder process, but as I mentioned before, there are many more platforms uh, to get your work out there. Um, and it's not even confidence. It's not that you have to be super confident about what you're putting out there. It's you just have to be brave enough to put it out there. Um, so we were panned for years and years. We still kept making it, and it didn't hurt the viewing figures. It didn't hurt the audience. It didn't, as far as I know, it didn't hurt us. Um, we were still having fun and still making, our little show. Our little show. That was so lovey-ish. um, but yeah, I think for people coming into the industry now, it's to just be brave because they won't break you. You hopefully it won't kill you to be knocked about a little bit or to be poorly reviewed or even well reviewed takes its toll on people. I mean, I've seen very, very successful writers with mega shows that have been, you know, hugely critically acclaimed. The burden on their shoulders is horrific. It's just horrible. And people break under that pressure as well. So it's just having just just be aware you're putting your product out there. If you believe in it and you think it's funny, then loads of other people are going to think it's funny as well. Definitely, because we're human beings and we share certain characteristics, and certain people might hate you. But that's okay too, because you know, the internet was quite a horrible place for a while, but I think it's not gonna kill you. Hopefully, I mean, I know it does kill people with um, some of the more evil stuff that people do. Um, but it is it's very worth it to do what you love. And coming from sort of um like a veteran of this industry, where I get to, I mean, I worked my arse off. I didn't have a day off in my 20s. I don't think. Oh, I think no, I did. I went on my own on holiday to Barbados, right? On my own. I think I was broken up with someone. I can't remember. Um, and it rained the entire week, and that was my holiday. So great. Back to work. Um, but yeah, in your 20s, especially in your 20s and 30s, we'll just work really, really hard, and then then you can start to sort of be more selective about what you might want to do. So I'm doing, excuse me, I've got this cold. I'm doing a show on a theatre in London in a couple of weeks where I'm directing. And I've never directed a show, and it's terrifying. And it's really hard work. And I haven't written it. But it's just something that I really wanted to do. And I've got the luxury of doing that because I stuck 2 pints out there, when I was new around. When I was young, but I was new. Um, if I believed the sort of flagellation we got from the press or from the critics, I wouldn't have the luxury now of doing really like fun stuff. If you see what I mean, doing what I want to do, what I if I'd have been killed by that process in the first instance, like on 2 pints, if we hadn't um stuck to our guns and still been robust and cheeky and rude and slightly towing the line, not towing the line, um slightly crossing the line in humor, just in smuttiness. um yeah, I think it was the right decision to like not to change it into a show that had, I don't know, maybe a load more cultural references.
So yeah, so what I got from what you said there
Yeah,
is
it's nonsense.
stick to what you are. It doesn't matter. Some people are gonna love you, some people are gonna hate you.
Mm,
But if you're a distinct product into what you are and you stick to it, those that love you will
secret.
stand by you, and
Yeah.
it allows you and stick through all the criticism of this one saying this
Oh,
one
yeah,
saying
and
that.
and the other side of the coin, stick through it through the love as well, because that can destroy people. Um, so any of that, you steadfastly just stick to your truth of it. Like if you just love being funny, writing jokes and stuff, write jokes. If you like telling stories, tell stories. There are all um different things that you can do, and so many platforms now. Um,
Yeah.
and everyone's constantly on the phone, so there's a big old audience out there because not sure what they're watching on telly anymore.
Now, they're all on social media. I mean,
Mm.
occasionally people go, well, they can watch Netflix on their phones.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is, yeah, it is a good thing and a bad thing with social media. But
Mm.
at the end of the day, there's less restrictions, and I know that there's a lot of people who say great things about Queen or the Beatles or comedians or all that. I'm sure that there was great musicians in the 60s or
Mm,
50s that no one heard of that had their own audience and made something themselves.
absolutely, and probably still going. You know, I'm absolutely sure, and I'm very very happy. I hope they are as well, because they'll have their thing that they're good at and they know back to front and they like doing.
If you were 10 years old now and and you saw where you are now, would you,
So those 10.
but you would be incredibly, I'm sure you would be incredibly like excited or happy to be in that place where you are now. Because I'm sounding maybe stupid or wrong here, but you are in a place where I think a lot of people never get to, where they get to
Yeah,
make a
I'm
good bit of
I'm
money from what they love.
very I'm very, very lucky. We've been very, lucky with it. Um, yeah, it's thinking back to what you said, if you were 10 years old, I did have that thought the other day, and it was quite, it was for me, it was profound, but, like, I was just leaving to go and get, um, lunch with someone who's a friend, um And and then later that day, I was and this was in quite a nice hotel as well, and I just looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, "You're going to lunch with someone who you studied at school in whose work you studied in English literature at school, and then you're going to go for dinner with one of your all-time comedy heroes. You were like the luckiest dude on the planet. And it was a really nice sunny day as well. It was just I would consider that one of my finest days. Just having that amount of gratitude and just taking that moment for understanding how lucky I've been.
Did it feel surreal when you had that?
Well, they're maids, so it wasn't surreal to meet up with them, but it was surreal to think, like, if you when you were little could see who you're popping out for lunch with in Soho, and then you're swanning across the city to Mayfair for the evening. That was like that was a mad little day. That,
Oh,
um, but that's me showing off. Not every day is like that. It's usually my dog throwing up from eating too much pork.
oh, sorry.
That would be a typical day.
But is the pork? It was good pork though. You said it was a good Sunday
We
roast.
we were fine. We had a lovely Sunday roast, and it's just the dog is a great dog, but he does really a lot of brilliant tricks. Because if you're right, you kind of have a fair amount of time where you're just thinking about stuff. So I took when we first got him, I did take a kind of 6-week break to train the dog.
Ah,
He does really, really great tricks, but you want to reinforce him. So with all the leftover pork yesterday, we just kept giving him. Well, it wasn't me; it's my husband. I wouldn't do. Just paying him, bribing him to do tricks with this leftover pork, and then in the evening, the dog was just sort of lying there going, "Ugh." Ugh. So what's wrong with him?
well,
Yeah, those are still a good day. Sick dog. Still a happy day.
he'll be well. He probably enjoyed it, and he'll be better soon.
Oh, he's fine. He's absolutely fine. It was just he just ate too much.
Now, to anyone that is listening in right now, what is the name of your play? So they can
Oh,
go and watch it. And is there anything that you would like to plug? And is there any news on Two Pints? Because I heard
um,
that you're the boss of it now, not the BBC.
that's not true.
Oh, sorry.
So we'll start with the play. The play is called The Red Prince, and that's about to be on in a week. I really should know as the director, shouldn't I? That's on at the end of February, from 27th of February at the Lion and Unicorn in Camden. And that's a very funny play. In I've got I'm kind of exhausted actually. I've got 2 other projects that are well into development at the minute, but you just don't know. I mean, like I say, a lot of it relies on casting, and because I like to write comedy, it does rely on the fashions, and it relies on the commission of the channels, and um, this is why I say social media can be used creatively for real good, even though there's a lot of horribleness out there. Um, with the story about Two Pints, which comes up once a year or so, or once every couple of years. I heard what the story I read was that I had bought the rights off the BBC, presumably to film it in my garden or my. I haven't bought the rights off the BBC. That's just not true, and a massively. I can't even see how you would do that unless you had your own channel to broadcast the I mean, but I mean, the thing I can say, the exclusive is that I have talked to all the cast this week, and they're all
Oh,
kind of excited, but bear in mind that they are hugely successful, busy people. So it would be a case of how the hell would we coordinate where we all got to do it?
Yeah.
You know, could we do a series? Could we do a play? Could we do a musical? Could we could we do a one-off? Could we do a film? All of that kind of thing would have to be thought about, coordinated, and then we'd have to find the time, which nobody's got enough of it in this day and age.
Okay. And for anything else, how do they find out about you if they want to find out about your work or anything
Me,
else?
I don't have a website or anything. I'm really behind the times. I think I don't know. I don't know. I'm not even on social media. It's like I've got a Facebook, I've got a LinkedIn and a Facebook, but I don't really use them.
So
I just think they might be very, very addictive.
they are too addictive. You
Mm.
save yourself, Susan.
I know I've got a badly addictive personality as well.
So just go to theatre show,
Mm.
and go to no uh go to Manchester, guys. No, I'm joking.
Manchester, come
Sorry, I
around.
don't know. But yeah, so you've got a fantastic play coming up, and hopefully we see 2 Pints, a new series of 2 Pints in the not too
It would
distant.
be cool. I would be up for it. I'd be up for exploring that. And possibly bringing some closure uh for the fans and for the actors and for the characters, and that'd be a nice thing to do. It's just how we do it, and like I say, how to coordinate it. Anything else, I'll let you know.
Right.
What about I can show you. This is a rewrite I've got to do this afternoon. That'll be fun.
Oh,
It'll make this character slightly more dominant. I'll do that.
okay.
That's how it works.
Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed Susan. I certainly have. It's coming up this Sunday. We've got a few guests coming up. We've got a Canadian mime comedian coming up. We got Philip Green, who's run a successful conspiracy podcast, and we got a real master of like physical comedy, which doesn't get talked about enough. John Townsend, and he's a master of like slapstick and clown humor. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you guys soon.